the subject. So as we said, the first of class, I'm getting married next May, and so money became a subject I think a lot about. And in my family, I think I've said it before, but there's 4 attorneys, 3 brothers, and I've seen all their student loans, and it's ridiculous. They're probably $70,000 or $80,000 in debt. And that's something I never want to be a part of. And so that's kind of why I've been so interested in learning about money, so I can get to the point in my life where I don't have student loans and I'm making even more than what they're making. So what I did, I've been reading books. And this book right here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is the book that got me interested in everything that I read. So if it weren't for this book, I wouldn't be studying about money. It's titled, What the Rich Teach Their Kids About Money That the Poor and the Middle Class Do Not. And it was a bestseller. It's been out for a long time. It's a really interesting book. A little bit about the author. His name is Robert T. Kiyosaki. Let's get this mouse close to the screen. Here you go. And I really like him. Here's a little quote just to show you the kind of, like the way he thinks. He hates when people say, I can't afford this. Because he says, the mind shuts off and you say, I can't afford it. Your mind shuts off and your creativity disappears. So he likes when people say, how can I afford this? Because it creates the mind, creates you to think, and you come up with different ways on how to earn the money. So pretty much your attitude and the way you think and the words you use is what determines your future. And that's something I really like. A little bit about him, he failed English in high school because he couldn't write. His teacher told him he'd never be a good writer. And he has a best-selling book on the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. So that's pretty amazing. That's like a pretty big accomplishment. And he's worth $80 million, so his advice is definitely worth listening to. And the reason he wrote this book is because he got criticized because people say that rich people are greedy and they don't help people. And so his whole idea behind this book is to help other people and help them become financially secure like he is.
Oh, you gotta move the thing in the middle because the cursor's on the back.
Okay, let's just click here. Anyway, so he wants to help out people. And something I found really interesting, I don't know why that's up over there. Technical difficulties. Okay, so I've heard these words growing up, right? Asset, liability, cash flow. I even had a couple accounting classes last year. And to tell you the truth, I never understood what they meant until I read it as simple as this guy puts it. And he says that 95% of people in the world don't understand this concept. So if you can handle these simple words, you got it. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket, right? If you're getting money from it, it's an asset. Liability is something that takes money out of your pocket, or an expense is something that takes money out of your pocket. Cash flow is the amount of cash that flows into your pocket every month. So they're not too complicated, but really I never understood it until he put it like this, because it just makes a lot more sense than the long sentences and blah, blah, blah. So to me, I like it. And he has a couple of really interesting theories that I like. One is called the 90-10 theory, and it says 90% of the people own 10% of the money in the United States, and 10% of the people own 90% of the money. And when you think about that, that's pretty incredible. The 90% of, I think there's 240 million or somewhere around there, own 10% of the money. I mean, there's a lot of people missing out, and there's a lot of really rich people in the world. So he has an idea. It's called the rat race, and this diagram right here explains a little bit. If you want, I'll give you a second to look at it so you can see what's going on. So this, you can't really see it. It says income statement up here. These are the 2 financial statements he likes the most, the income statement and the balance sheet. And he says it's because when you put the 2 together, you can really tell what's going on. And it has the income and the expenses up top, and then the assets and the liabilities down low. And if your guys look anything like mine, it looks just like this. You earn your money, you get your paycheck, you pay your car payment, and then you pay your house payment. I don't have one of those yet, and your credit card bills, and then the rest of the money goes to food, gas, and having fun, and then you're out. Right? That's exactly how mine looks. And he calls this the rat race because people never get ahead. They try to budget, they save money, and then they end up spending the money on other things. At the end of the month, they're right back where they started. So the way people get out of the rat race, and the reason why rich people are rich, is this right here. I looked at this one for about 10 minutes, and I had one of those aha moments that you realize, like, holy cow, this is like pretty interesting. So the difference is, if you look at it, rich people and the people that have gotten out of the rat race, their income doesn't go straight to expenses. So, which means they have to sacrifice a little bit at first. For an example, let's say your car payment's $200, right? And if you pay it straight from your income, it goes $200 in income and then it goes straight out. But for example, what these people do, they buy a rental house and they rent it out and they make $300 a month just off the rental house. They'll pay the car payment with that $300, and they're actually making money meanwhile paying off their car payment at the same time. So it's like they're not even making the payment, meanwhile they're paying for a house. So it's really interesting. He said the way to be rich and the way to get out of the rat race is to put as much money into the asset column as you can and build as big of a cash flow as you can towards coming around, and you can pay your expenses. And it's really slow at first, but he said it snowballs and it snowballs. And eventually, that's where we get to this. You want to mind your own business to where this side thing, whatever you're putting your money into, the asset, is actually making more than your job. And he calls the job just over broke, which I think I thought was pretty funny, because to me that's how it is. I don't know your guys' lives. But to explain what mind your own business means exactly, I stole a quote from the book. And this right here is from Ray Kroc. For those that know, he's the owner of McDonald's. He started it. And this is something I never even considered before, so I think you guys will find it really interesting. It says, what business do you think I'm in? So he just barely left the classroom. He taught a bunch of college students. And they went out to get a drink after. And so he's sitting them down at the table and he says, what business do you think I'm in? And the students laughed because he just talked about hamburgers and the way he started his business. And finally one brave soul yelled out, Ray, who in the world does not know that you're in the hamburger business? Like, come on, Ray, you're an idiot. And he laughed a little bit and he said, that's what I thought you would say. And then he ends up saying, my business is real estate. And then after that, he spent a little bit of time explaining that. And I thought that was super interesting, that the guy that invented McDonald's says he's not in the hamburger business, he's in the real estate business. But when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense that everywhere you go, McDonald's has one block off the exit. They have the most prime real estate pretty much in the country. Anywhere you go that's popular, you find McDonald's. So the money he's making off that real estate, I imagine, is a lot more money than he's making off of selling hamburgers every day. And what this is saying, he's not telling everybody they need to go out and quit their jobs and invest money in things. He's just saying that you should have a side business to where eventually whatever you're piling your money into will grow. And eventually you'll be able to quit your job and you won't take any pay cuts because your business will be up. So he said everybody should have their business and their job, and they need to keep the two separate. And the purpose behind this is, he says this in the whole book, he quotes, he says, the poor and the middle class do not work for money. Or the poor and the middle class do work for money, and the rich let money work for them. Which, when you think about the income statement and the balance sheet, it actually makes sense to where the rich people's money is working for them, because they have the money going through the assets back into the income, back into the assets, back into the income, and there's only a little bit escaping into the expenses. So something interesting, just to finish it off, something I've always dreamed of was growing up and buying my own house. And I've always pictured this as like the biggest asset I'm ever going to get in my whole life is my house. I'm going to have a really nice house. And he kind of opened up a new door for me to where you guys may not agree with some of the stuff that he says, but he says that house isn't an asset in the sense that it doesn't put money into your pocket. That when you buy a house, you're paying all the expenses, you're paying the loan, the mortgage. There's a lot of things you're paying, and the money isn't going into your pocket, it's going out. And so he kind of opened up that door for me. And his theory is that he likes to pay himself at the beginning of the month, because he says he's okay with letting himself not getting money at the end of the month. But when there's creditors after him, people calling about the bills, he's got to find a way to get them money. So he pays himself first so that the other people can motivate him to pay them. And that way he's always making money, which I found really interesting. So what do we learn? We learn that if we never save money or invest, we'll never be poor, or we will always be poor no matter how much we earn. In his words, we'll never get out of the rat race and we'll never be financially secure if we don't start paying ourselves first and trying to build our asset.